do it. Don't don't be scared. Move forward.
Let's say I'm a 25-year-old today, and I'm in Silicon Valley, and I want to start a company. The founder, relentless mindset, the grit.
Have no hesitation. Have no fear. If you fail, you become even more valuable because you now have learned lessons. We've invested in husband-wife teams. Some of them have been spectacular successes for us. Time saving, cost saving, and ease. I would expect that founders would hire people cleverer than themselves because, you got to execute your plan.
Arvind, you've had a front row seat to multiple waves of innovation, from semiconductors to AI. Looking back, was there a moment early in your career that reshaped how you view risk?
Yeah, I have always been in the finance world, and so assessment of a risk has always been a part of everything that I've tried to do. All investments have risk associated with them, and that's something that you have to incorporate into your investment philosophy.
How has that changed over time?
Risk is really a function of what valuation you're getting into an investment at. At a very high, currently, I would say the risk is very high because valuations are pretty aggressive in most startups and most innovation opportunities, and so risk is high. When you come out with a new product that nobody has previously invented or offered, if you are creating a new product that does not currently have a market, then you're going to have to do, market creation, and that's harder. So risk there goes up. It's if you are displacing somebody else into in the market, risk is somewhat lower. When you're creating an absolutely brand new product, then the risk is higher.
So, Arvind, outside of the valuations of companies and how you think about risk as far as displacing a company or creating and building a new market, what about the founders? How do you assess risk when you have a founder right there in front of you? You built one of the most amazing powerhouses in venture with Intel Capital. When you sat back there and you're assessing a founder, what sort of risk do you associate with investing in people?
When you look at people and when you look at founders, I'm looking for a number of different things. One is, does this person believe in their own product or believe in what they're doing? Do they have passion? How much passion do they have? Are they willing to do founders' work? By that, what I mean is that they're willing to work tirelessly, work like a founder, Silicon Valley definition of a founder hours. Are they willing to do that? And those are critical elements. If a founder is not passionate about their product, then that's a red flag. I would be looking for how convincing, how persuasive are they in showing and discussing their product. So those are some of the things. The other thing is eventually a founder is going to need other people, and how are they able to work with other people, because they're going to have to surround themselves with other people that they will need to have working for them. And then usually, in many cases, there's not one, but there are more than one founders. So almost always there are two or more founders. And then I would be looking for what is the dynamics between the two of them. Are they competitive with each other? Are they supportive and complementary with each other? Do they bring complementary skills, or are they going to clash? Because nothing destroys a company faster than when two founders clash with each other because they can't get along or they have opposing mindsets. and that can kill a company, and that can really slow down a startup. And you don't really want that in a startup. You want startups to go in a straight line, which is never the case. And I am also looking for, okay, how is the entrepreneur taking feedback? If they are completely closed to feedback, that's a problem.
Arvind, we'll definitely spend some time talking about the playbook that you follow later on in the show. But I'd like to start from the very beginning of Intel Capital, when it was all founded. Take me to the backstory, right before its formation. What was the driving force behind starting Intel Capital? I know you were at Intel first, and I'd really like to unpack that.
In the late 80s, what was happening at Intel was that Intel had just come out with the microprocessor, and microprocessor was getting traction. And what was happening was that two things were happening. A microprocessor could compute, but it didn't really have any meaningful applications that would make it valuable to the end customer and the end user. And so it started to dawn on us that we needed to invest in applications, invested in useful things to bring to the PC and the microprocessor that would make it desirable for customers to do something useful other than play games and be impressed by the compute capability of the PC and devices with microprocessor in that. The other thing we were noticing, again, in the late 80s, was that many people were leaving Intel to go do complementary things to Intel. And so we needed fellow travelers whose destiny that we could tie with the microprocessor and the PC's destiny. And so at that point in time, we started thinking, okay, let's take some minority stake in these companies, help them out, because in those days, the VC ecosystem was not as well developed. It existed, obviously, since Intel itself was a VC-funded company, but the ecosystem wasn't as well developed and not always willing to invest in things that would have helped the PC and the microprocessor. And so we started investing at that point in time, and that's how essentially Intel Capital got started back in the late 80s, 88, 89 timeframe. And then we got into graphics and memories and all the other things, because once the models sort of started showing value, then other people and other folks said, oh, yeah, this works. And so we expanded from there. And the other thing was that there was a lot of support from Andy Grove, who was CEO at the time. He understood pretty rapidly and very supportive of investing in startups, because at that time corporations were not really into investing in any other startup. It was just I think absence Andy Grove, Intel Capital probably wouldn't have existed.
A couple of things I want to unpack there. So first of all, it sounds like it was an opportunity to diversify and safeguard against any potential changes in the market, and not relying on what just Intel had as a core product. It also kind of reminds me of Andy Grove's book, Only the Paranoid Survive, right? Sort of thinking about what to do next to stay ahead of the game. Is that a fair kind of summarization of it, like the initial
stage? Not really. At that stage, it was more about getting more applications, making the PC more valuable to the ultimate user. However, there is an example of where that what you mentioned came into play. Was when the cloud started showing up. But there was a point in time when Intel had almost 100%, high 90s market share in the enterprise data center. And we were invested in several hundred companies. And we noticed that almost every company was using Amazon AWS, and nobody had their in-house data centers anymore. And at that time, Intel had no presence in the cloud. It was all enterprise, corporate, in-house data centers. And when we had like 300-400 of these companies all doing that, it started to dawn on me and others that, hey, there is something happening here. And when we approached the folks who ran the data center, data center server business, essentially, they said, well, how big are these companies? I said, well, they're all startups, but they're 100% in the cloud, and we have no presence. And so it was at a point in time where Intel had humongous, high 90% market share, was making a ton of money in servers, and it was very difficult to convince that, hey, what's happening here with startups is an opportunity that could come and bite us. And so with great deal of resistance and pushbacks and so on and so forth, in a corporate environment, nothing is as straightforward. There's a lot of politics involved. And we're talking about a part of Intel that was one of the most profitable businesses ever, literally until that point in time. There have been other profitable businesses since then. But at that point in time, Intel's server business was one of the most incredibly profitable business with huge margins, right? And so to convince the powers that be and the decision makers that there is something out there called the cloud, and all startups are using AWS cloud, and asking them to start paying attention because we could be wiped out. But it was a major investment made by Intel in the concept of a cloud, which was way too early, tried to grow it too fast, and eventually ended up folding it because it just wasn't producing the numbers, either the revenue or the margins. But again, it's an issue of timing. You can come with a product way too early and try to grow it too fast, even in the case of Intel with deep pockets and so on, but not a lot of patience and wanting things to grow faster. You have to keep in mind that Intel, everything at Intel got compared to the PC and the server business. And there was very hard for any other business to compete either in revenue or margins or profitability or size. And so many businesses like that, what Intel got into before anybody else, ended up being shut down because they just didn't grow fast enough. So there's an example of how Intel Capital was very helpful in getting Intel aware of developments.
Another, I guess, key piece to unpack is you started this, right? You were the key member from Intel to start Intel Capital. I guess why you? Why were you the chosen one? What was the driving force behind that?
Yeah, right time, right place. I was treasurer of Intel at that time, and we started seeing people leaving Intel, starting their startups. I had been a good student of looking at, for example, Japanese kiretsus. The idea literally came from that part of the world. I'd looked at, as an investor, I had looked at a lot of companies, a lot of bonds issued by enterprises, global enterprises all over the world, and noticed that, hey, there is this kiretsu concept where folks like Toyota and others own many of their suppliers' equity and help them get going. So the idea really came from, at least to me, really came from that part of from that concept.
Mm-hmm.
But just timing, right place, right time, and right opportunity, and we seized the moment and moved forward. And once you did half a dozen of these investments, and you begin to see the value creation and the value add to Intel, it became very evident.
So, Arvind, was it your idea to start Intel Capital, or was it more of a corporate decision?
Well, at that point in time, it wasn't called Intel Capital. It was called it was just an investment made, and then eventually it got evolved into business development. And then eventually business development morphed into, once it had enough number of companies and people working on it, it got put together as a entity, as a group within Intel called Intel Capital. So yeah, it was an evolution.
What would you say are looking back at that journey? What were some of the key investments, key highlights during your tenure there?
Oh, I think cloud was probably one of the biggest. If Intel hadn't figured out that there is the cloud evolution, Intel would probably have missed that, just like they missed the AI. The evolution of the AI, they just simply missed it, and we can now see the damage that it has done. So I would say cloud would be the most significant. Contribution by Intel Capital to Intel during at least the time I was there.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, right? So when we think about what you said there with the cloud investments, you had the data. It was right there staring back at you, and you can see it. And based on that, you can ask the right questions, and that led you to start thinking about cloud in a different way. Why was that perhaps lacking when it came to AI?
Oh no, I'd left Intel. I'd retired in 2016, and I couldn't speculate. That would be difficult. But it's never a straight line. So even though we had several hundred startups in our portfolio, and they were all using AWS, and cloud was, we're noticing, but they're all small companies, and we were providing the feedback to a humongously profitable business unit that said, well, yeah, what are these companies? They're all dinky little companies, who cares, how many servers are they really using at the end of the day, but it created the early warning. It created the signal out there, and that helped. Intel became rapidly aware, and was able to incorporate.
I've been working with you now for a few years, and looking into your career and what you've achieved, which is phenomenal. I think one thing that seems to keep coming back to me is this idea of, and it aligned with what you're saying here, is this idea of pattern recognition and first principles thinking. It seems to be perhaps maybe somewhat of a investing philosophy for you. You see the patterns, you keep an eye, you keep your fingers on the pulse. How has that changed now? You retired in 2016. You're now doing personal investments. You're part of another fund, advising. Has that changed in any way? Have you changed your philosophy, way of thinking when it comes to investing?
Not really. It's all about getting there ahead of other people. And, you need to be faster. You need to recognize the pattern and have conviction, because many times you can see it, you can sense it, you can view it, and still don't have enough conviction or a persuasiveness to convince that, nothing happens all by yourself. There are lots of other people involved, and so you have to be persuasive as well. But currently it's pretty obvious that enterprise will need inference models. I don't think currently there is much adoption in the enterprise. There's some, but corporations for the most part haven't fully utilized AI in their. Everybody claims they're using AI, of course, but the ultimate benefit for corporations will be once they have adopted and created their own inference models, and they're running inference and able to do agentic and offer that to their customers to improve their product offering. And that's going to be huge, because can you imagine every enterprise, large enterprise, building their own inference models? That's huge. That's huge. And then the other is every country is going to want to build their own sovereign AI. That's sort of happening. So yes, the doubt there for me has still remains, and that is if you add up the total of all the investment that's taking place in the AI space, and it's in hundreds of billions of dollars. It has to be paid annually. Excuse me, I didn't clarify that. Hundreds of billions of dollars annually in AI. It is still unclear to me where the additional revenue stream is going to come from, because these are additional investments. This is not an investment in lieu of something else. This is investment that people are making in addition to all their other investments. And so it's not clear to me where the revenue to support those additional investments will come from. And if you look at the economy as a global economy as a whole, the economies would have to grow very substantially at very high clip that we're not currently seeing to support the growth to produce that revenue stream. So, it's going to happen. Not sure where the additional revenue is going to come from.
So that's interesting. So going back to these different waves, right? The PC, the internet, the mobile, the cloud. You've seen them all. Did you have that same feeling with those waves in the first couple of years, looking at it and thinking, where's money going to come from? Or a lot of money going into this, or is this a new feeling that you have?
Well, so initially, e-commerce, everything you did online displaced the travel agent. They displaced some existing revenue stream. Right. And so the revenue stream was already there. So they were displacing some other form of, addressing that revenue stream and then it didn't have the scale. Now we're talking about scale that are, they are stressing the balance sheets of some of the largest corporations in the world. And we're talking about if you add up the AI investments of just the Microsofts of the world and Facebook and so on, hyperscalers, it's hundreds of billions of dollars. These is not small numbers, and these are annual. They're annual, and so there has to be some revenue growth that will support that.
Just to unpack that a little bit further, so what you're saying is,
I guess ultimately not everybody's going to win. That may be the way it works out, and that is not everybody. Everybody's racing to get there, and not everybody will make it. I think that not everybody is going to be successfully able to monetize their investments.
What are your thoughts on this new wave of AI? Looking back at all the different evolutions that have happened in technology, this is the next wave that everyone keeps talking about. Everybody's an AI company. There's tons of technologies being built. It's quicker now to build product. As you said, lots of money being invested in companies. How do you think about it as the next wave, the next evolution? Is it the next evolution? Is it a hype? Is it real?
It's real. It's very real. It's displacing a lot of things that we used to do manually, if I may call it that way, or programming, or searching the web and so on. Yeah, AI is real, and it's really helping, and it's doing things that were previously not possible. And then, the application of AI is still to come. And there will be, this is real. I have no doubt in my mind. The question I'm posing is everybody going to be successful in monetizing their investment? Because these are huge investments being made by a lot of people.
Is there anything that worries you about AI?
Not yet. I'm not worried that it's going to displace human beings entirely. I'm not there. I'm not as worried or as concerned. It may very well create new industries, new opportunities that we still haven't, thought of. That's entirely possible.
I mean, the productivity and the as you said, the manual work that we do now has changed significantly.
Every new innovation has helped create and reduce the human labor-intensive effort. And now we are getting to if I may call it, the brain-intensive effort. So where AI is helping reduce, can AI replace a programmer? Yeah, it's doing it. The need for programming, and at the end of the day, programming is a laborious task. People have to sit down, write code, test it, blah, blah, blah. It's a labor-intensive effort. In today's world, where everything runs on some form of computation, programming is a labor-intensive effort, and that's clearly being addressed by AI and, reduce the amount of effort. Can you get rid of all the programmers? No. But you can certainly reduce the number of folks doing programming.
We talked about displacement earlier, either creating a market or displacing a market. And we've seen that with Netflix displacing Blockbuster. We've seen it with all these different evolutions that have come into place, like the iPhone displacing the BlackBerry. Is it possible that AI isn't only going to become a great source of technology for us to be more productive, but actually, as you said, displacing software engineers? Maybe not entirely, but surely we've got to face the reality. There is a real possibility here that there will be less software engineers in the market. There will be less, especially the sort of the lower down the stack roles, like the graduate roles or the administrative tasks. These will be replaced with AI.
As you've seen, and you know this better than I do, the demand for AI folks is such that we have heard stories of Meta paying huge amounts of dollars to hire these folks. Now, I'm sure those are unique situations, but nevertheless, the market is so. There are new jobs out there that did not, 10 years ago, there was no AI job. Now there's a huge demand for AI jobs. And I'm just using a very generic definition of AI, building, LLMs, building inference models, etc., that are going to require a lot of new folks with a different skill set.
You and I have discussed this before. You've mentioned the inference models, and you've mentioned it here on this show as well. Let's unpack that if we can. I guess the question is why? Why is that now important, and why do companies have to think about that?
Yeah, all companies, large and small, but more for larger companies, are sitting on a humongous amount of data that they have really not completely been able to monetize because they can't interpret what's in the data, or they cannot figure out what is the data telling them. And these are, gigantic amounts of data. And I think that inference models are going to allow that kind of monetization of that data by making it possible to glean from the data what is valuable to a corporation, and new opportunities will emerge from that data. And at the end of the day, enterprises exist for the purpose of serving their customers, and so they'll be able to serve their customers better products, faster products, quick response times. At the end of the day, cheaper, faster, better wins.
Arvind, what sort of skill sets are required for building your own inference models? I mean, especially as you said, if we go back to the displacement of software engineers, utilizing those skills and creating new jobs, what sort of skills are required?
Actually, I think you are a better place to answer that question. Honestly, seriously, you are much better placed than I am. But data lakes, understanding how to implement all the tools that are out there that are being continually being developed, how to ingest that data. How do you, I mean, these are skill sets that are evolving as more companies provide tools and capabilities, and you have to be able to understand that. And many of the folks in the coding world, in the programming world, will make the transition. Many will not.
When throughout your whole investment career, from your time at Intel and even up to now, when you're doing your own personal investments, was there one company that you knew was going to be a standout company, and it became a standout company?
Sadly, no. Yeah, it'd be a stretch to say that at the first meeting, we're able to say that this person and this company is going to go, go really. But you do get inklings of certain individuals that have so much passion, that have so much conviction, that they would do well. But I can't claim that I was able to glean in the first meeting with any founder that this person was destined for humongous success. I'm trying to rack my brain in the 1,250 investments whether there was such an individual that I came across. I have to be humble on this. I don't think so. I really don't think so. It's the ability of the founder to navigate those twists and turns and learn and get the feedback. And some founders don't. I've seen many founders who were so enamored with their thinking and their product that they just wouldn't take any feedback. And also those companies and those startups get filtered out very rapidly because there is no such thing as a perfect first product. It's just rare. And if you are, as a founder, if you're unwilling or unable to, and there are lots of reasons why. If you're unwilling, the founder is unwilling or unable to, or let me just say the startup is unwilling and unable to make changes and evolve their product, those companies come to an end pretty rapidly. And I've seen lots of those. Yeah, a lot of those.
As a founder, how do you balance that? How do you balance the feedback from your customers to iterate, to pivot if need to be, versus not listening? I mean, I think Steve Jobs was notorious for saying the customer doesn't know what they want. Yeah.
Is your product getting traction? I mean, is it getting trials? Is the trial leading to folks signing on the dotted line and giving you the revenue order. The feedback is usually there.
Yeah.
Founders do tend to, or we all do, get into denial. And denial can be dangerous. It can be positive. It can be dangerous.
Looking back at the most successful investments you've made in founders, what would you say is the most underrated quality in a founder?
Maybe this could be an example. You meet the two founders. Usually there are two founders, sometimes more, but you meet the two founders. But you haven't looked at the interaction. So you know the dynamics between the two founders, right? And you can sense, okay, these two guys, are they going to be able to, and I'm referring, I'm using the masculine here, but it could be husband-wife. We've invested in husband-wife teams, and some of them have been spectacular successes for us. You see what's the dynamic, are they complementary? Are they, is there friction here already? And if you watch carefully, you can see that. However, in most instances, you don't really see how they deal with other people that are not, how they're working with their employees. What is their ability to motivate their employees? Because in a startup, obviously the founders are extremely motivated, passionate, but the people that they're going to need to help them achieve their passionate dreams are going to people who are not founders. They are, they're early employees, but they're employees nevertheless. They're not, at the end of the day, going to have the same motivation. And their motivation is different. Okay. And how persuasive are these folks? And that's something that, I wish there was a way where you could, when you meet a startup, you could somehow or other be a fly on the wall in one of their conference rooms to see, okay, how is the founder or founders dealing with their staff, with their folks that work for them. And that would give you a one more data point in making your decision. I rarely got that opportunity, I must say. It just, never had that ability to get that kind of visibility before making an investment decision.
Arvind, in relation to that quality, right? As far as the quality itself, the ability to engage with customers, with employees, to get them excited, to motivate them, how critical is that for the success of the business as a whole?
I would expect that founders would hire people cleverer than themselves, because you got to execute your plan, and you got to find people who can help you execute your plan. You got a great idea, you got a great product, whatever it is, you need lots of people to help execute your plan, and their ability to hire the best people and motivate them is critical.
Of a completely separate topic, but still on the lines of investments. Looking back now, has there been a opportunity that you missed out on, that you passed on?
Yeah. Lots of them, yes.
That you regret?
Yeah, you regret.
I don't want to bring... Yeah, I don't want to bring up those ones, but
yeah, trust me. Yes.
Can you name one?
No, I'm not going to name any. But yes, we missed a lot of things. Sadly, yes.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So let's say a 25-year-old. Let's say I'm a 25-year-old today, and I'm in Silicon Valley, and I want to start a company. What advice would you give to a 25-year-old? He or she, they're looking to start something. They are eager, they're hungry, they're passionate. They have, the founder relentless mindset, the grit. They have the people skills. They're very good with people. They can sell. Technically, very very astute. What advice would you give them?
uh, do it. You know, don't don't be scared. Move forward. Uh, those qualities that you describe are you know the number of qualities that amongst others that they need, and they should go forward. I think there the the ability to do a new startup and produce new products, services, etc., is not going to change. It's going to be a continuous. And so if you have an idea, go for it. Do it. You know, make sure that 50 other people don't have the same idea, because that's going to be very, very difficult. Then you're in a race. But great idea, concept, ability. Yeah, in this world, there is so much capital available to fund new ideas, new concepts, and that's certainly very true of Silicon Valley. I mean, Silicon Valley is perfect for that. You know, I'd say have no hesitation, have no fear. You know, if you fail, you become even more valuable because you now have learned lessons that are going to be valuable in your next opportunity. Next opportunity.
Arvind, if you were to make any predictions about the market today, you know, we've seen some interesting things happen in 21 and 22. There was a bit of a hyper market, a boom, a lot of capital, and then we saw a downturn, or somewhat of a downturn, with lots of layoffs in 23 and parts of 24. Now there seems to be this new vibrant energy kicking back into the industry, into the market, perhaps slightly dissimilar to 21 and 22, but still quite vibrant. Do you think, you know, the way things are right now, are we in for another growth market? Is there a potential possibility of a recession around the corner, a contraction, whatever we can call it? But is there going to be some changes in the market, whether positive or negative? What are your thoughts?
With AI, I think we're going to see emergence of completely new business models, very similar to when internet came along, and it made it possible for you to book your travel plans rather than go to in the olden days. You used to go to now most young people today are not going to even know this, but you know, there were days when you went to a travel agent to make your bookings for flights and hotels and blah blah blah. Now all of that happens online, right? You do all of that, and the internet made that possible, and so completely new business models got created with the availability of the internet. Because of internet, it wouldn't have been possible without the internet, right? My suspicion is that AI is going to now allow a completely new business model, because AI is now able to. Internet was, you know, essentially a dumb pipe, so to speak, if I may call that. Whereas AI is going to allow a lot of intelligence to be incorporated, you know, agentic stuff in their bots. So new business models are going to get created. So that, yes, I think we're on the cusp of an explosion here coming. You know, don't ask me for timing, but I think AI is going to allow that to happen. I mean, take this interview we were doing, podcast, right? In the olden days, you'd have to go into a studio. So in the same way, I think that AI is going to enable a completely new business model that we haven't really seen as yet. And it's coming. And it's going to make it possible because there's so much intelligence made available, and so much compute power available. Time saving, cost saving, all of those, and ease.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely an exciting time to be in Silicon Valley right now, and to be part of this ecosystem. Arvind, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I would love to be doing this in person. But, you're always traveling, but I'd love to one day sit down with you again and unpack things even further. But before you leave us, I want to ask you one last question. We have a tradition on the show, which is. I'm an avid reader, so I love reading, and this whole purpose of Inside the Silicon Mind podcast is to give back to our community, our industry, with knowledge and guidance and advice. And one way to do that is book recommendations. Being Arvind Sodhani and somebody who has been a huge impact on the Silicon Valley industry, is there a book that you would recommend? One that you've read, one that maybe has truly resonated with you, that you can tell our listeners?
There is a book by a guy called Joseph Schumpeter in the 40s, and it's called Capitalism, Socialism, and something. Capitalism, Socialism. Mm-hmm. And basically, it talks about creative destruction. And I really recommend this book. It's amazing. This guy in the 40s, wrote this book, and he couldn't have described what's happening in the world. He couldn't better describe Silicon Valley. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. I highly recommend people read this book, because if you're a VC, you're in the business of making somebody else's product and model obsolete and displacing that with a new product and services, etc. That's the book. It's you have to read that book to read, and it's a difficult book to read. It's like a translation from, I think Schumpeter was Czech and wrote in German and translated. So it's a difficult book to read, but it could not better describe what we see happening in Silicon Valley and what Silicon Valley's contribution has been to mankind. It's just amazing. It's for me, it's a reference book. Go back to it, look at it, and say, "Oh, okay, I've been," because every now and then, you get confused.
I've never come across it, so I just pulled it up, and it will be in the show notes. It's called Capitalism, Socialism, and Democracy.
Right. Yes. Right.
That's awesome. Arvind, one. I know I said that would be the last question, but I'm just really keen and eager to ask you this question, right? Because, as I said, it's you're someone who's had a huge impact on the industry. How much love do you have for Silicon Valley?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, who said this recently? And I quote. I have as much love for Silicon Valley as one man can have for another man. I think it was Elon Musk who said that recently. Yes, Silicon Valley is incredible. I mean, what Silicon Valley has done for mankind in the recent 50 years has been unbelievable. It's incredible. It's changed our lives, improved our lives. It made things better. I'll give you an example. Back when, if you wanted to call your parents, I'm an immigrant in the U.S. and I came over before my parents came, etc., and so on. If you wanted to reach folks anywhere in the world, it was an expensive proposition. Now, we do this on WhatsApp.
Arvind, it's been an absolute pleasure. Honestly, I've really enjoyed this, and hopefully we can do this again in person. The old ways. But it really has been.
I look forward to it. Yeah,
it really has been a pleasure. And I've learned so much from working with you over the last few years. You've been a mentor and a great friend. Really appreciate it, and enjoy your time off. And I'm sure we'll speak soon.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Inside the Silicon Mind. This podcast is powered by Harrison Clark. For more episodes, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. As always, stay curious, stay consistent, and stay inside the Silicon Mind.